All right, we are live.
Okay, the hour of 5:30 having arrived, I'm going to call the meeting of Finance and Personnel, the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. Okay, so the first item of business, do we need to call the roll?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yes, please.
All right, so we have Chair Alder Taft,
Here.
Alder Young,
Here.
Alder Meekma I don't see as of yet.
Oh, you know what? Alder Meekma has asked to be excused.
Has been excused, okay.
Yes.
And then we have Alder West
Here.
and Alder Tate.
Present.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, the first item of business is the approval of the minutes from the most recent meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee, which was Monday, December 7th, 2020.
To approve? Approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to our next item, which is also our first item, official item. So item 804-20, communication from the general manager presenting a 2020 revenue bond issue with Baird. And we have a representative invited to the meeting. Sorry, Felicia, usually read these. I just got overcome with excitement.
Well, that's okay.
The recommendation.
We have Brad Vagut.
Go ahead.
Brad, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, so hold on one second. I'm just going to finish reading this real quick. So the recommendation of the Waterworks Commission on the 15th of December 2020 was to approve. And then staff recommendation is to approve. Fiscal note, the $20 million revenue bond will be repaid from revenues generated from water rates and contributions from Mount Pleasant. And yes, Mr. Vagut, if you'd like to speak to this item, I would recognize you at this time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I'll just be referring to the fourth attachment on your agenda under this topic. It's just a brief outline of this issue that I've put together. As you've mentioned, the Water Commission has already acted. With your authorization this evening, Baird and the city staff will continue to take steps towards bringing this issue to market. We're in the process of preparing a disclosure document. That's the official statement. We've already held a rating call with the rating agency, so that's already in process. We're beginning to market the bonds. And then on the 19th, the city council would consider your recommendation along with a resolution outlining the parameters of the issuance. This is the same approach that we used just a couple of months ago when the city refunded debt for savings. So the council, in adopting that resolution, will define a very narrow set of parameters that once we're ready to issue the bonds, then we go ahead and lock everything in subject to those parameters being met. So the plan for that would be the city council acts on January 19th, and then by the 21st, we'll be ready to lock this in. We can't lock in on the 19th because that's a federal holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so the bond market's closed. So that's the rationale for locking in just a couple of days later on the 21st. This is a $20 million issue to fund projects of the waterworks system, 20-year repayment, and as indicated in the agenda, the payments will be made from user fees generated from the system. So this isn't a pledge of tax, it's really a pledge of the water revenues to pay debt service. And I've included a detailed debt service schedule of this issuance. The schedule includes existing obligations of the water system. The boxed in area shows the new repayment schedule that's anticipated. Again, this is just an estimate at this point. And then overall, the annual payments compared to net revenues available, which is showing us that this is affordable. This is manageable for the system. The estimated rate based on today's market, 2.12%. However, I'm cautiously optimistic that rate's going to be a little bit lower when we lock this in just a couple of weeks. So glad to go into more detail or answer any questions.
Are there any questions? I'm looking for hands. Sorry, I don't see any questions. There's no, as generally, there's no prepayment penalties for any of this, right?
Well, there is a 10-year period where the utility will not have the option to prepay, but then after, oh, I'm sorry, not 10, it's actually shorter than that. So beginning September 1st of 28, the debt can be prepaid. So there's about a little over a 7-year period that it can't be prepaid.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Okay, a motion would be in order at this time then.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and properly seconded. Recognize Alder Tate with a question.
Thank you. How much interest would accrue in those first 7 years where prepayment is not allowed?
Let's see. Roughly $4.2 million of interest is going to be paid in the first 7 years.
Is that standard to kind of have that period of non-allowable prepayments, or is that specific to this restructuring or
No.
specific to this bond? Excuse me.
It's really standard for this type of issue. In fact, just up until a couple of years ago, it was standard to see 9-year or 10-year call features, and now we're seeing in the market actually shorter call features. So the trade-off there is generally the shorter the call feature, that is the earlier you can prepay, the higher the interest rate the investors will demand for that option. It's a market-driven dynamic. But in today's environment, we're in such a low interest rate environment, the investors are making the assessment that, well, the city and the water system really isn't going to need to prepay this because the rates are so very low. There's other debt at higher rates that could be prepaid. So there's really not much of a cost or a penalty, so to speak, to have that 7-year call feature.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Young, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, for City Administrator Fisher, how frequently does the utility engage in bonding? And when was the last time we did this? Or do you feel comfortable with what we're acting on today?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the question. The last time the water utility did a bond issue, and Brad, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2019. And I believe that it was a $20 million issue at that time as well. I am totally comfortable with this. It is completely in line with their capital improvement plan that went through the Common Council during budget time. In addition, with a little bit of recoupment for some projects that happened as well in 2020. It's very consistent with a regular borrowing of a utility of our size.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, my internet's not great. It just froze up a little bit for me, so I'm sorry if I'm talking over someone. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is, oops, sorry, I have to get back to my, oh lordy. Felicia, would you read the next item, please?
Sure, yeah. Item
Thank you
number
so much.
0802-20, communication from the general manager submitting a comfort resolution pertaining to the 2020 bond issue. Recommendation is that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to sign the comfort resolution pertaining to the 2021 revenue bond issue. Fiscal note, the water utility will be able to reimburse previous capital expenditures with bond proceeds. And this one we do have, it looks like we have Ken Scalero. Ken, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Would you like to speak to the item?
This is something standard we do for most of our bond issues. It allows the utility to have the option to sort of, as was previously stated, that we have the option to reimburse the utility of cash on hand funds that were used for some of these capital improvement projects that were already spent. So it doesn't mean we are for sure going to do that, but it gives us the option where we could reimburse ourselves for some funds that were previously spent.
Does anybody have any questions about this item? Okay, then a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Okay, moved by Alder Young. Do I have a second? Oh, sorry.
Second.
Seconded by Alder West. All right, moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions about this item? Okay, I do not see any questions. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'm sorry, folks, my internet is going in and out. I just made my kids turn their computers off, so my apologies for a little bit of disruption there. Okay. I am moving on to the next item, which is item number 17-21. And Felicia, if you could please read it.
Sure. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Sustainability and Conservation Coordinator requesting to apply for and accept the Energy Innovation Grant from the PSC Office for Energy Innovation to install solar plus storage at the Racine Transit Garage at 1900 Kentucky Street. Staff recommendation that staff be authorized to execute the necessary application form to apply for this grant. Fiscal note, estimated grant in the amount of $500,000 with $275,000 city match budgeted in 2021 CIP Transit Garage solar panels.
Thank you.
And we have Kara
Ms.
Pratt.
Okay.
Kara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Karen, would you like to
Wonderful.
speak to the item?
Yes, thank you all for inviting me. I would like to share some information that you can find in the attached memo. Most exciting aspect of this grant is that it would include storage, battery storage, in addition to the solar panels budgeted in the CIP budget. As you all are aware, battery storage is an innovative approach that we can take so that when the sun is not shining, we still have the storage of the energy produced by the sun to be able to charge those electric buses that we'll be receiving in November of 2021. And so this is a second iteration of a grant that we already received from the PSC Office for Energy Innovation. And as the memo states, this was one of the many recommendations in the final report of that grant. And so we're taking that advice in the report to pursue this funding that would allow the city to save operational costs of future electricity that would be needed to charge these buses, and then also lead the way in having a carbon neutral bus fleet. Happy to answer any questions you have.
I have a very loud dog, my apologies. Are there any questions?
Alder Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Coordinator Pratt, for your work on this. You know, I think when we were having our first discussions about, you know, how do we modernize our infrastructure, the 3 S's came up as a part of that, which is savings, service, and sustainability. And it's awesome to see work being done in the city that meets all 3. And so I appreciate your work around finding these types of resources outside of the city to make sure that we can continue our commitment that we've moved forward with the Paris Climate Accord. So appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? My dog would like to comment, but he's not allowed. Okay. Are there, seeing none, a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Alder Tate, seconded by Alder Young. Any further discussion on the item? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is
The next item we have is item 0019-21, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the interim city administrator, submitting a COVID-19 paid sick leave policy for consideration. This policy is intended to create a one-time exception in 2021 to the sick leave accrual language in City of Racine Employee Handbook, Section 5.05.A, as specified there within. Staff recommendation is to adopt the proposed COVID-19 paid sick leave policy as presented. And we have Marisa Rubik here to speak on the item.
proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this policy was drafted as a one-time exception to the employee handbook, which currently and has always since at least 2015 allocated sick leave to employees 1 day per month worked. So on the first of each month, employees accrue a new day of sick leave. And the change proposed in this, in light of COVID-19, would be to allow employees to get their entire year's worth of sick leave. So essentially for a full-time employee, that'd be 12 days, 96 hours of sick leave on January 1st, so that they have a sufficient sick leave bank in the event that they need to quarantine or isolate due to a COVID-19 related reason. As of December 31st of last year, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act expired. That also made provisions for a sick leave bank for employees. So this is just a way to extend the spirit of that benefit to employees in a budget neutral way that allows employees to utilize their sick leave as needed this year. You know, should they need all of it in January or all of it in December, or they still have the option to bank it and carry it into future years with certain exceptions as specified in the policy regarding retirements. You know, there are other exceptions for part-timers. They accrue it on a prorated basis, but oh no, that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I see Mayor has his hand raised. Mayor Mason, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Taft. I was just wondering if Kathleen could give just a little context to why we went this route. And, you know, the FFCRA gave a great benefit for our employees dealing with COVID. We opted this route just for some simplicity's sake, and it's not clear what the federal government's going to do to extend it, but without any clarity on it, this seemed like the easier administrative route for us, and giving employees the flexibility that they need sooner rather than later if they need to leave. So Chair Taft, if you won't mind, I'd like to ask Ms. Fisher to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, please, Administrator Fisher.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. And I want to first say thank you to Marisa and HR, who together really came up with this idea. And we believe that this is the best case scenario for our organization at the time, particularly when we were late in December and we really didn't at all know what the federal government was going to do. And to be honest, we still really don't know what the federal government was going to do, but we are still seeing our employees being impacted by COVID-19. And we wanted to be able to give them something in the absence of the FFCRA benefit that was out there. This also has the benefit in our current fiscal situation of being budget neutral, because it is a benefit that was already there for the employees. So it really is the best case scenario. In addition, it is far more simplistic than the requirements that are associated with the FFCRA program, which requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth. Often the paperwork doesn't get done until people are days within their quarantine. So this is a much, much simpler approach that goes more through a just standard sick leave policy approach.
Okay. Looking for other questions. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Alder West, seconded by Alder Tate, the second. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is scrolling.
Next item we
Yep.
have is 099-20, a communication from Alder Taft on behalf of the city attorney requesting authorization to continue the self-insured workers' compensation program under the Wisconsin Workers' Compensation Act. Staff recommendation would be to grant authorization for the city of Racine to continue the self-insured workers' compensation program under the Wisconsin Workers' Compensation Act. No fiscal note, and we have Assistant City Attorney Marisa Rubik to speak on the item.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. The city of Racine has long been self-insured for its workers' compensation. Every 3 years, the Wisconsin law requires workers' compensation self-insured municipalities to notify the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development of their intent to continue to self-insure for workers' compensation purposes. In order to do so, the city needs to gain the council's referendum from the council approving this action, and that's about all there is to it. For your background information, the cities and villages mutual insurance company provides administration services of the workers' compensation program to the city, and the budget for 2021 is $1,400,000. All those costs have already been budgeted, so this is not adding anything additional to what has already been planned for. But happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the workers' compensation program? Okay. Seeing none, a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Moved by Alder Young.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Tate, the second. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, the last item we have is 0838-20, communication from Alder Taft on behalf of the city attorney's office submitting the claim of Sylvia Rodriguez for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation would be that the claim of Sylvia Rodriguez be disallowed. Assistant City Attorney Marisa Rubik is here to speak on the item.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Sylvia Rodriguez filed a claim with the city requesting $277.74 in damages for repairs to her vehicle after she allegedly drove over a pothole and damaged one of her tires. Pothole was located allegedly at the corner of 14th Street and Villa Street. This occurred on September 29th, 2020. She filed a timely claim. However, the city does not have liability for maintenance of the roadway when no prior notice of a defect is possessed, and in this case, the city was not aware that this alleged defect existed. Therefore, because the city is not legally liable, we would recommend that the committee disallow this claim.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to disallow.
Second.
Moved by Alder Tate II, seconded by Alder Young. And is there any further discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And I believe that with that exhausts our agenda. So
Correct.
thank you everybody for your time. Please enjoy your sports ball. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Say bye.
Bye.